Hi, my name is Jack Diaz. This is the Mechanical Literacy Project. We're going to be talking about what size wrench to use on a bolt. Sounds odd, but people don't know, so let's find out. The company that I used to work for, they hired me as a technical operator, which means that I was both a machine operator and a mechanic, maintenance mechanic more specifically. They had been in business for many, many years, and a lot of their employees were just machine operators. And all they ever did, they pushed the button, make the machine go. Machine got jammed up, they'd stop it, they'd lock it out, clear the jam, unlock it, get the machine going again. While the machine was running, they'd have a mechanic sitting off to the side and just waiting for a machine to break down. Well, anyway, the company decided if the operators learned how to do some of these repairs, it would benefit the company. So a lot of the machine operators that had been doing the same job for many, many years, some of them 20 or more years, had to learn about fixing things. I had this very nice lady. She trusted me to not judge her, and she came up to me and she pointed at a bolt. She said, "This doesn't say what size wrench to use on it. How do I know?" Okay, let's talk about it. I said, let me show you. And I pulled out my wrenches and I got some nuts and some bolts. I don't have any nuts here. Anyway, I got some bolts. Okay, first of all, I explained to her that these are called combination wrenches. Let me get a smaller one so you can get it in the frame here. These are combination wrenches. It's a combination of a box end and an open end. You can see that open end a little bit better there. There's advantages to both things. Sometimes you can't get a box end wrench into an area, but you can slip the open end wrench over it and you can get your job done. This is a 12 point. It has 12 sides to the wrench, or to the box end wrench. And in Europe, I believe they call them closed end wrenches. So when your bolt is in there, you can move it, and maybe you can't, for example, maybe you can't move it very far. So you can move it back. Let's set this up a little bit better here. So you're in a tight area, and you can move this far, and then you can move back this far, and that gets you where you're going. Now, if you happen to have a 6-point wrench, you're going to try and wrench this thing. You get it this far, and you move it back. You can't quite get it all the way to where you need it because there's not enough room. So you're kind of stuck. So that's why that's the advantage of the 12-point wrench. The 6-point wrench, the advantage to that is it's less likely to damage the corners of the bolt head. And I'll get into that in just a minute here. So she asked me, what size wrench do I need? So I said, you look at the wrenches, you look at the bolt head. I got a couple different sizes here. And it's kind of a learned skill, something that, and it's not hard to figure out, but you look at it here. See, now that fits. That's a good size wrench. That's the right size wrench for that. You go over to this one. Okay, see, it's sloppy. It doesn't grab the bolt very tight. And if you can see where the corners are, it's pretty easy. If you put too much pressure on it, you're going to damage these corners on this nut, or on this bolt head. So the advantage is, with the 6-point, if somebody happens to round the corners off in these bolts, you can grab a 6-point and it'll grab the bolt with a lot more surface area. So I went through that and I explained it to her. Now, when I worked at Fastenal, I would have customers come in and say, I need a 1/2-inch bolt. So I bring out a 1/2-inch bolt. No. That's not what I need. I need a bolt that fits the 1/2-inch bolt that fits the head, a 1/2-inch wrench. I said, oh, okay. So you tell me what size the shaft is. Well, I'm not sure. I said, well, you go back to the shop there and bring me one of the bolts, or at least a broken bolt, and I can measure it up. So they'd come back. He says, well, here's a bolt. It takes a 1/2-inch wrench. So I grabbed this handy little tool. It's a bolt gauge. And I'd say, okay, it's not a 1/4 inch. That's too big for 1/4 inch. Okay, so what you need is a 5/16 inch. I said, now how long do you need the bolt? Well, I'm not sure. So we'd take it on over here and we'd measure it on this part. So it's a 1/2 inch by 1 inch. Okay. And we'll talk about coarse and fine thread bolts a little bit later. But this gauge here, fine thread nuts fit over the shoulder. See, I don't know if you can see, this is stepped. Has little steps on it. So this is a little narrower here. This is a little wider here. So a fine thread will fit over this bottom part. A coarse thread won't. It'll just come to the shoulder, and then it'll stop. And here's an example of a fine thread bolt. I don't have a fine thread nut to show you on that, but I'm going to be talking about nuts and bolts in another video. So anyway, I explained to this guy that bolts are measured by the shaft. You can get a bolt gauge and you can find out what they are. There's a 7/16, this big old bolt. This is a 3/4. There's a 1/2 inch. So once I explained to that, and again, never condescending, because I realize people don't know sometimes. A lot of stuff I don't know. So you just gently explain it to them that this is the bolt shaft, this is the bolt head, this is the threads. The bolt is measured by the shaft. Pretty simple stuff. And once you know it, you have some more knowledge. Another thing I was going to tell you about was okay. These are Gearwrenches. It's a 12-point, but it's a ratcheting head. You can go back and forth. Let me get a better example here. These are really good if you're in a tight area because they move 6 degrees, I believe. So if you're in a real tight area, you can get in, turn them. So this is a ratcheting. This is actually reversible ratcheting, closed end wrench or box wrench. These are quite a bit more pricey than the combination wrenches because these are obviously one piece. Each wrench is forged in one piece. These are multiple pieces that have the workings inside. Just throw that out there to you. One oddball bolt I have here is a carriage bolt. The reason it's called a carriage bolt was the name came about in the 1800s when they were building carriages. The carriages had a lot of wood, and so they would use these because the square end would bite into the wood and hold it while you tightened your nut onto it. They still use them today for a lot of applications. I see them like on conveyors where they'll actually have a square hole punched into the metal, and this square shank will bite into that hole. I've used them in building some trailers, wooden sides on trailers. If the square part starts slipping, there's a couple tricks you can use. You can grab the head very carefully with pliers or vice grips and tighten it down. If you're not worried about the bottom half of the shank, once you get the nut up to where you need it, you can grab the bottom half with pliers or vice grips and tighten it down, but it's going to ruin the threads on the bolt, so it's kind of a one-time use. Hopefully you don't need to take that off. Anyway, there's a little quick explanation on what size wrench to use on a bolt. I hope you got some new information out of this. If you've at the hardware store and you come across one of these bolt gauges, they're just a few dollars, but I tell you what, they're really handy. I got a couple different styles. So anyway, again, this is the Mechanical Literacy Project. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got some information out of it. And if you did, it doesn't cost you anything to hit the like button, and it sure helps me out. So we'll catch you next time. I'm not sure what the next video will be, but I have a couple already in the works. And I have a couple already posted up on YouTube, so check them out. And we'll see you back here again.